Honourable Senators, coming from Saskatchewan, Treaty 4 territory, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, I rise in support of Bill C-29, the National Council for Reconciliation Act. As you know, this bill would establish a National Council for Reconciliation as an independent, non-political, permanent, and Indigenous-led organization, with its purpose being to advance reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. I understand through the usual channels that I may be the last speaker. Therefore, I trust we are ready for the question imminently. Thank you to Senator Audette for her leadership on this bill as sponsor. Thank you as well to Senator Francis and our Indigenous Peoples Committee for their hard work on Bill C-29, and to all senators who have worked to advance and improve this legislation since the bill arrived in our chamber nearly 1 year ago. It's also worth mentioning that this bill passed the House of Commons with unanimous support. A heartfelt thanks as well to the senators who have provided constructive advice on this Bill C-29, in whole or in part, including our colleagues, Senators Anderson and McCallum, and our critic, Senator Martin. When it comes to reconciliation, good enough is never good enough. Indigenous nations and federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments and legislatures must constantly be working to strengthen relationships and achieve the best possible results. Honesty, courage, and criticism are essential to progress in society, as was illuminated in this chamber yesterday. Bill C-29 acts on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action for a National Council for Reconciliation, being calls to action 53 to 56. Many senators have pledged to do their part to answer these calls, including in response to the recurring discovery of unmarked graves of Indigenous children as residential school sites. I believe we must always measure our commitment to truth and reconciliation through their eyes, imagining their perspective. Today we have an opportunity to make headway on this sacred journey. As Senator Audette told us with Bill C-29, and I quote, "Every bead that we weave is precious and helps us along the path of healing and reconciliation, but also along the path to building a new relationship and maintaining the existing one, a relationship that is, of course, built on respect, partnership, and recognition of rights." Bill C-29 will create a national council responsible for monitoring progress on reconciliation in Canada, publishing reports and making related recommendations. In addition, Bill C-29 will enable the conduct of research in accordance with a multi-year plan. Research is important. Data is important. Integrating Indigenous and Western knowledge and thinking is crucial to advancing reconciliation in the hope of developing new approaches and new programs to support understanding among people outside the government apparatus, end quote. Senator Audette also noted that this bill's journey has been very long. It is time to conclude the Senate's process. Many of us recall the highly regrettable circumstances of 2019, when a Senate filibuster prevented votes on 3 House of Commons private members' bills, answering the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Those were MP Romeo Saganash's Bill 262, respecting the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples; MP Georgina Jolibois, Bill C-369, to establish a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation; and MP John Aldaig's Bill 374 to require Indigenous representation on the Historic Sites and Monuments Board. The first 2 initiatives subsequently passed as government legislation, with greater priority and different procedures within our Senate processes. The third initiative regarding the Historic Sites and Monuments Board is now at second reading before the House of Commons with Government Bill C-23, introduced by Minister Guilbeault. However, valuable time has been lost. I raise this matter not to throw stones, Rather, my purpose is to remind our chamber that our actions are consequential to national efforts for truth and reconciliation. For example, our legal committee has before it another call to action with Senator Kucher's Bill S-251, proposing to end the use of corporal punishment on Canadian children. If the Senate does not pass that bill or another iteration, Call to Action 6 will never be fulfilled. As I said, I'm either the last speaker to Bill C-29, unless an adjournment is taken today. I know legislation in this chamber sometimes becomes interrelated in our processes and dynamics. However, I trust all senators will agree reconciliation must never be conditioned on anything save the truth. Speaking for myself, and I presume for many in this chamber, I'm ready for the question. Thank you. Merci and haike tatamahin.